Hello, my friends. Big Jonas here. It is Thursday, August 8th, 2019. Let's check out some Bitcoin price action. Before I do, please remember to hit that follow button and, of course, that thumbs up button if you do enjoy my content on YouTube. And as always, remember to follow me on Twitter. I am at Big Jonas. Okay, so I'm on Coinbase Exchange. I'm on the daily chart. And let's just take a look here at what is still a very clear consolidation pattern that Bitcoin is still going through after our break above, I should say, $13,000 area. Still holding these lower highs, but this cluster of price action is beginning to look very different than the last two rejections we got here. Both of these rejections at 13.8 and then at 13.2 were very clear daily candle rejections, where the follow-up candle was a clear turn, to the downside there. What we're seeing here is something a little different, where we did have the rejection candle that we were looking for. This can be considered on the daily, the one we had a couple days ago, the rejection candle. But what happened is we were actually able to close with a higher high on yesterday's daily close. And that's something that we really haven't seen on previous rejection candles in this area. Now, we also were able to intraday, right, get above our sloping line of resistance with this little FOMO wick, which turned out to be at the time a bull trap. You can see we were able to put in another intraday break of this line before closing below it, and we are still getting rejected on it. So I would say two things about that. This line can definitely still act as major resistance as it continues to do so, or a closing daily candle above this yellow line of resistance, which now has sloped below 12,000 to somewhere around, just above 11.9. A daily close above this line would basically set a new precedent of resistance turn to support. And then any kind of a back test would be looked for to confirm the resistance turn to support with a daily close above the yellow line. Still not there yet, though, as we're just hovering around it. Now, it also looks like we're putting in some sort of a very kind of tight diagonal rising wedge here. I'm ignoring the wicks and I'm just using our candle bodies here. And as you can see, we're definitely getting very tighter in our higher highs and higher lows over the daily time frame here, which could basically spell out a couple more days of this upward drift consolidation in this area, a bullish upward drift, which could form into this rising wedge, which is definitely considered a bearish pattern if we kind of stay on here and then we fall out through it. And that could take a couple more days still to set up, as we can still break through our linear line of resistance and then come back down and keep the closing candles within this rising wedge here, which is still a little early in its formation here. This isn't really confirmed yet. I'd give it another day to see if we actually are able to maintain holding in this structure here, and that would basically confirm with a close at least above 11.6 but below $12,000. You can see on the daily, we are still hugging the upper Bollinger Band as we've expanded with our volatility. Lower BB is still declining, which means we're still seeing the after effects of the bullish push we've had over the past several days. Middle Bollinger resides in the mid $10,000 range. And the reason that the Bollingers are so effective is basically once you are able to touch support on the lower band, initiate a test of our middle band, and then break through it, we then target our upper band. And this is exactly how this pattern has played out. A lower Bollinger break, an initial rejection of our middle Bollinger. We came back down, but we did not retest our lower BB. We were actually able to find that hold support above lower Bollinger. Test initially rejected of our middle Bollinger, came back above it, had an intraday below, but ended up closing above, and then off to the races we were. So the bullish signal of the break of the middle Bollinger did lead to at least a minimum of an upper Bollinger target. And then we actually not only got that, but the expansion and continuation of such on the Bollingers. Still wide on higher time frames as well. 3-day, we're still between our middle and upper. And of course, our weekly still way above our middle, still in the 8,000 range. And upper BB resistance does quantify at around 13K. It's notable that the weekly upper Bollinger is where the last three wick outs happened of our last 3 weeks, that we were able to get intra-week at least above our upper Bollinger prior to the week where we actually did close above it there. Let's go back to our daily chart here. Let's auto that out. Let's close our Bollingers here. I wanted to make reference to my EMA 12, EMA 26. We did do the bull cross several days ago. I was looking for a rejection. We didn't get that. We actually had our expansion here. So as long as the daily EMAs are in this bull cross pattern, the bulls definitely do have the upper hand here, regardless of any kind of intraday pullbacks. We can see near-term EMA 12 support around $11,000, and the EMA 26 is very close in the 10.7 range. And we can see, our whole bull market of this year was really based on that initial test rejection. And then right here, where we actually did break bullish with the cross in February, that bullish break of our EMAs held all the way up, all the way up. And even when our price action failed to hold EMA support, the EMAs themselves did not cross. You can actually see that a little clearer here if I remove the price action. We had a couple looking pretty bearish, but our EMAs held, our EMAs held, our EMAs held, our EMAs failed. That's where we had that much more distinctive bearish pullback. But we did have that hold there, and we had that reaccumulation, and now we're back to a bullish EMA stance on the daily, on the 12-hour, on the 6-hour, on the 4-hour. And we're just crossing bearish-ish on the 1-hour, but it's the 1-hour. We've crossed, you can see, bearish to bearish numerous times over the past several days here. So on the lower time frames, I wouldn't take too much solace in it, but you can see clearly very bullish, very bullish, very bullish on all the higher time frames, as the EMAs have yet to cross on the 2-day, yet to cross on the 3-day, yet to cross on the weekly, and notably on the weekly, finding EMA 12 support 3 weeks in a row and bouncing very strong off that. EMA 12 support is now a little bit under $10,000 and rising. Back to our dailies here. Let's get rid of our EMAs for a moment here. I did want to bring up our TD indicator. We are on a daily 9. Now, I want to make reference to our last cluster, 789 here, that did mark a clear bottom. Our 7 candle was the bottom. Our 8 candle was the consolidation. Our 9 candle was the bullish engulf. And then we did a price flip to a 1 on the follow-up candle. So we had a 789 on the bottom. We're now doing a 789 on the top, where our 7 candle, just like it did mark the bottom, and frankly, this bottom here, another 7 bottom, 7 bottom, 7 top, where we have our 7 candle being the top candle, our 8 candle being basically the kind of hovering around the area, our 9 candle being the defining candle of the pattern, and then the candle after that was the one that was able to show, okay, we are now going to break up. So tomorrow's candle, depending upon how today's candle closes, would be a mirror image of that if that was to play out. If we were kind of get some sort of a bear breakdown tomorrow because of the 9 and the accumulation of this price area and the rejections consistently of this $12,000 zone. On higher time frames, we are still mid count, only on a green through on 3 on the 3-day here. Also a situation where we did have a 9 that actually marked the 3-day pattern of the bottom here with continuation up there. And of course, the weekly, we are also on a bullish price flip here. Still a little bit to confirm this here, 1, 2, 3, 4. But as long as we were able to close this week above 10.1, which is probably going to happen. This will be a green 1, so we do have a price flip forming on the weekly. And of course, our monthly here, we are on a green 6 as well here with a potential running room. So we're definitely seeing the TD showing bullish counts, potentially a little exhaustion here on the daily, and then everything else is still showing kind of a continuation here of kind of mixed counts, mostly because we've been in this kind of consolidation mode over the past several days within a relatively tight time frame or price frame from as high as 12.2 to as low. Well, I should say it's about $1,000 range here, but even in that $1,000 range, we tend to come up and down very quickly here, not allowing the TD to form a very strong count on the lower time frames, as we do see it forming on the upper time frames. I want to make a note of our moving averages here, MA 50, 100, 200. On the daily, we've been able to find support above the 50. Once again, this was an area where we were finding resistance a couple times here where we're trying to break through. Now we are finding it and it is acting as support. Lower time frames, you can still see we are still above our moving averages in the 12-hour, above on the 6-hour, above on the 4-hour. I did want to make note here of the MA 400 on the 4-hour. Sorry, the MA 200 on the 4-hour. The MA 200 on the 4-hour has always been something that Bitcoin has respected, I should say. We can see here we found it as support. We can see here we found it as a backtest of resistance here and here. And then we see that we were able to initially right here find it as resistance, reacquire it as support. There's the beautiful back test. Almost kind of breakdown. Nope. Close above, and then acceleration from. So the Bitcoin chart on the MA 200 on the 4-hour always seems to be a very good, accurate indicator of bullish progression or bearish resistance. And as you can see, the price action still remains above all 3 moving averages on the higher time frames. And then only the 1-hour is where we're basically flirting with the 50 and the 100. We do have a couple notable bounces off the MA 100 here, and here, and here. So that is definitely acting as decent support as a back test as the 50 failed. And note the MA 200 on the hourly is around $11,000 there. So definitely finding moving averages as the support on the lower time frames and acceleration of the price action pretty much way above on the higher time frames there as well, going out into the 3-day, and of course the weekly price action still remains way above any near-term moving averages, 100, 50, and 200. Also note on the weekly, we have yet to induce a bullish spread here of our moving averages. We are getting closer. We do want our brown 50 above our blue 100. So we have 100, 50, 200. What we want is 50, 100, 200, like we do see in lower time frames here, no, daily? Yeah, so the daily has the perfect bullish fan out, moving average fan out, 50, 100, 200 that we are looking for. But even with the weekly being very bullish, we're still not in that pattern just yet. I want to take a quick look at some oscillators. This is the daily still. I'm looking at the chalk and money flow. It looked a little scary when we were breaking through that 0 line here, but didn't take very long to rip us back up here. Quite a notable pullback, though, from our top here. We went up really fast. Okay, we went up really fast. We got to this kind of cluster zone where we do find that resistance. So once again, this is where we found that resistance here. So now we're finding this support on a similar zone just in the lower range here. Okay, so we hold here and we can definitely advance. We drop below our 0 line again. And I don't know if that's going to hold for a third time there. But for now, the CMF is definitely in the positive and looking pretty strong. Unbalanced volume also looking pretty strong here. We did have a nice double bottom bounce here. We are basically in line with our price action. though slightly under. You remember when we looked at our price action and this candle broke through this yellow resistance line here. Now we're seeing it a little bit under. So that's a very slight bearish divergence there on our OBV. I do like to see this slightly ahead of the price action to show that bullish accumulation, no matter what the price action is. RSI is in a consolidation zone on the daily. Still above 50 here, but looks like it's flagging or penanting in this zone here. And the fact that as long as we can hold above 50 on the daily, which was resistance, we did have a nice double bottom reset here at 41 and then accelerated higher there. So a daily RSI above 50 is definitely very nice and bullish. We do see a little exhaustion here in our stochastic. Doesn't mean we can't wrap around again and try for a double tap like we did here, like we tried to do here, like we definitely did here, but we are still seeing that full spectrum run of our stoke very quickly here because of how quickly Bitcoin's price action ran. I do want to make note of this area down here, this kind of bottoming area here where we had this rising kind of expanding bullhorn flag, that expanding wedge here that broke support. Then once that support was reaccumulated, that was a very good buy opportunity there. I like to use the stochastic not only for up and down, but it also shows patterns. And this was a pattern where we tested 1, 2, 3, basically had 4 crosses, and it was the 4th one that allowed us to have that bullish breakout in the end. So after much rejection here, that expansion above this line was that key move there that we were kind of really rip this time after a bunch of these false breakouts. And lastly here, this is our MACD. We do see a little bit of a lower histogram today, but overall pretty strong. Both of our indicators are spreading out widely and both are in the positive here. Just watching our overall mountains here, we do tend to find resistance in our mountain ranges, you know, right here, right here, right here. Here's our FOMO finger, middle finger here, but we do tend to find that our histogram goes only as high as this yellow line, which is kind of where we are right now, which would signal a consistency of rejection when our MACD histogram does find resistance right here as we are doing now. And our indicators are still rather spread out. Let me change that color because it looks like it's hard to see. Let's go purple. There we go. You can see it better now. So we're a little too far spread here with our leading versus our trailer here. So again, I'm looking for a little more consolidation here to bring these a little closer, because normally when these run away from each other, it shows a little too far ahead of its skis potentially. So, you know, overall, the daily oscillators are looking pretty strong. We're still seeing the consolidation, the price action correlating in line with a little bit of toppy areas on some of the oscillators. But once they break out of their pattern, like our triangle here, potentially the double bounce of our OBV and our stochastic there, and especially holding this CMF line of support, we definitely could see that advancement in Bitcoin here. So from, you know, a near-term pattern standpoint, I'm still keeping an eye on this being a rising wedge that could still take a couple more days left to form. Now I want to do a couple Elliott schematics here and just kind of get a sense of potentially where we could be moving here from a pattern. We do basically have a clear ABC here, and off that ABC, it's still a very clean possibility that we are in a 5-wave structure here. And we are basically in wave 4 of that consolidation. Now, that wave 4 can take us as low as about 11.1 before an invalidation could be set in. and then looking for that fifth wave to continue up there. Now, the reason that this is definitely in play is for a couple of reasons. One, we do have a higher high here on our second test here, which would constitute our 1 to 2 wave, and we do see that wave 3 has wicked out just right at, I mean right at the 1618 extension of our initial wave 1 here. So that would correlate with a very clean third wave extension here. And as I said, as long as our fourth, so we can basically come back and reaccumulate Bitcoin over the next few days as low as around $11,100. And then keep the bullish pattern intact to extend to another fifth wave here. Or we are still in our third wave pattern, and this rising wedge is actually what's going to end this third wave pattern here, basically as we get closer to tighter here. And that would still correlate with a rejection somewhere at this 1618 before that fourth wave pullback here. Because wave 2 took as long as it did, this was almost a week here of price action, I wouldn't be surprised if our fourth wave took a lot quicker and took a lot less time to basically establish itself as a fourth wave here. So this is basically the bullish scenario for what we're seeing. And if we did find that rejection here at the 1618 with a support somewhere above the 11154, then potentially a fifth wave to the golden ratio, which would constitute a triple topping here, or maybe even as high as a 1-to-1, which would be the $14,000 extension there of Bitcoin, coinciding actually, but more like 14.5, which would coincide with the 2618 of the wave 3 extension there. So this is our really good ranges for this being a bullish 5-wave impulsive structure. The other variants of this could just be we're in a very large W, X, Y, X, and Z or Z pattern, where the X's represent double rejections here, and the Z would constitute a lower low breaking below our Y bounce here. Obviously, this would have several weeks to play out, but the clear sign this is a possibility would be a failure to hold 11.1 as a major support area now, which it really should be, considering how much resistance turned support back to resistance, now acting as support. The price action really is showing here. So this is kind of what I'll be looking for over the next couple days as we get a little bit later into our week here. It's still a very good weekly candle. We're basically building off last week's bullish engulfing as we've accelerated higher here. We do have a little upper wick here, but nothing too concerning just yet. But over the next several days here, the shape, the formation of this weekly candle will be very determinative to basically show if we are still in this expansive roll. And let's face it, overall, you talk about the major Elliott patterns here. Overall, we just could be in just this massive wave 4 we've just finished up here, and we are about to expand to our fifth wave. Now, because 3 was so significantly, I mean, I got to go way up there, like 5, 6, 7x times what wave 1 was. Wave 5 of a truncation of wave 5, basically a much smaller wave 5 would definitely be quite notable and in the works. And anything from a golden ratio at 15.7 to maybe a 1-to-1 back up to 19, which would be, Bitcoin double top resistance here, can definitely be in play with this bullish scenario playing out. And I would put more credence in this, especially if we start to see the $13,000 range again, which would still be another $1,300 above where our current price action is. But we get back up to 13K, there's a very good chance that we're not going to double top, but we're actually going to break our current local resistance here right at 13.8 and look for those higher highs in the near future there. The declining volume is definitely notable, even though in our range here we're really losing our volume momentum that was really accelerating as we went into our blow off top here. So I know it's August and I know a lot of stuff is happening in the overall stock markets, but definitely something to keep an eye on, or if the volume continues to fade, we're just not going to have the buying pressure that will allow this to continue higher, and we may need to settle in a little bit lower prices to basically find a new reaccumulation spot. But for now, Bitcoin, anything above 11.1 basically tells me the bulls are still in control, and anything consolidating above that will still allow the bulls enough time to find that overall support and consolidation before any notable expansion. So with that, it's Big Jonas. Hope you guys found my content interesting and maybe you learned something. Love spending some time with you. Remember to hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed my content. Give me a follow on YouTube and, of course, a follow on Twitter. I am at Big Jonas. Look forward to talking to you guys soon. Have a great day. Peace.